We're all put together and we're here on a beautiful Monday morning with Paulette with her amazing Sew From Your Stash project. Okay, take it away, Paulette.
Good morning. So today, sewing from our stash, I was thinking, what if we have a beautiful fabric that we have a hard time cutting into? In this quilt behind me here, I had this beautiful trees in winter with just a little bit of sparkle. And I really wanted to, still look at that and see exactly what it was. And so I thought, well, why don't I make it the background, but in big chunks? So we're going to be making a Scrappy blocks, and we're going to be using that beautiful fabric that you love just in one piece. So these blocks here are all 8 inches finished. So that gives you quite a nice little space to be able to appreciate your favorite fabric there. But we are going to make scrappy bits too. So you will need for this one of these blocks. So here's the block. And all you need is pieces that are 2.5 inches by, you need one 2.5 by 2.5, and you need one that's 2.5 by 4.5.
And they have to match.
Yes, these need to be of the same fabric.
Okay.
So even a 7-inch piece that you have will work, or if you have strips left over from a project or binding, even if you cut binding 2.5, you can use your leftovers from that, as long as you have 7 inches at least to be able to cut these 2 pieces. So you are going to be making 4 little units of scrappy fabrics. And we are putting a common fabric in the corners. So this one's got kind of a greeny fabric in the corners. The sample quilt has a bright blue in the corners. So I think that kind of helps to keep the scraps together. And the only thing to remember is that whatever you choose here, your feature fabric and your scraps need to contrast with that.
Yes, you'd need high contrast or else it won't work.
I mean, I have a few, like this block here, where this is very dark and this is very dark. But I'm sewing from my stash, and if I only have 1 or 2, it's not the end of the world. So we are going to be making 4 of these little units to put this block together. So you're going to be cutting from your scraps the 4.5-inch piece and the 2.5-inch piece. And then you're going to lay them out like this, and in the bottom left-hand corner is where you're going to lay out
the cornerstone
corner type one. So it's actually going to be like that when you're finished. Now, I always lay them all out. I don't just start sewing all of these guys together, because if you have something that's kind of stripy like this, you want to be able to, if I just kind of sewed these all together here, and then now I'm going to put them together here, what I end up with is some going that way and some going that way.
Yeah.
So I think because this is a small little bit in the quilt, you want to kind of keep anything that's directional going
the
together,
same direction,
so it looks more cohesive. Most prints it won't matter, but if you do have something that has a definite stripe in it, or even this one up here has a design that is very one way, then I make sure that when I'm laying these out, I am orientating these so that you'll get a flow. So then I'm ready to sew. So we're going to be sewing the 2 squares together.
And which way do you press it?
This pressing doesn't matter which direction at all. You can go toward the dark, you can go towards your scrap, you can do them open, because it does not match anything. There are no seams to nest here.
Right.
So in the quilt, because there's nothing nesting, you can choose whichever way you would like to do it.
Okay.
I do tend to do it towards the scrap, but this particular intersection, it doesn't really matter. So then you're going to sew these 2 guys together, and you're going to end up with all these little units that are exactly the same, except they have that one little corner that's common to all of the blocks there. So what I would suggest is that you actually make a lot of these to start with. Don't just, make one set of 4 and then sew them together as a block, because you might find that so in this quilt, because it's very scrappy, I ended up with some spots where I have two lights here and 2 darker ones here, so you kind of really see this. In another one, this is all light and this is all light, so that accent of that little bit is right there.
Okay.
So you kind of, I
need to play with the blocks a bit.
Yeah, and this is another chance for you to just play with your stash and be happy about using it up. So make a selection of these, and then you can start playing with them. So I'm going to just take down our little pieces that. Now, when you do make this and you do add the side one to it, then I always press towards this rectangle, because
less bulk.
Best bulk, for sure. So once you get all of these, you just have to make sure that the common color is on the outside corners. So let's say I want to try this. So I'm making sure that all of my corners are on the outside there. Maybe I think, I don't like those two together. In the big picture, it probably doesn't matter, because you're going to look at the whole quilt all together. But each block...
Oh, I like that better.
Yeah, I kind of, I play around with it a little bit, and I think, oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, because these two right here and here are printed, and these are tonals more, right?
Yes.
So to me, it looks better that way.
Exactly.
But I mean, I overthink these things. So yeah, I try to make it perfect, which defeats the whole purpose.
And I would say that in this quilt, I didn't pay a lot of attention to that. So this quilt is probably, I was just so excited about using this fabric here that I was just kind of putting things together. So, but I have made another version, so you'll see what happens with that one. But make a however many you think you're going to need, because you need 4 for each block. This particular quilt, and in the instructions, you need 32 Scrappy blocks, and you're going to be cutting 31 8.5-inch pieces of your feature fabric. You might get 7. Well, you'll get 6 of these for, no, you won't. 5, 4. I found that I had to cut an extra strip just to get the last one out, but that's okay. I had enough fabric, and you need about 1.75 meters of this. So if you have a 2-meter piece of favorite stuff, maybe give it a try.
Right.
Okay, so now we have our pieces all decided what we're going to do, and now it's just basically A4 patch. You have nothing to match. There's no seams here, and this seam here is going to butt up against this one. Press towards the rectangle that has no seams. Down here, same thing, nothing to match up. Sew it together and press towards this rectangle.
Oh, I see.
So
and then
now
you've
got, so when you do go to do that center point, they're going to nest perfectly. And there you go. You've got 1 block done.
Wow, super easy.
Super easy. So, and I used all kinds of fabrics. Excuse me. So I have modern fabrics, more vintage fabrics. And
oh God, she has this girl has nerves of steel. I'm telling you. Like, we have, what are those little dogs?
Yes,
little dogs, circus dogs. We have strange butterflies.
That's
I bet you butterfly wings.
Yes.
We have brick walls. We have bubbles.
Yes.
We have red flowers. She loves red. Cowboy boots. I mean, she has everything in here. Okay.
I do. Like here's a very obvious Christmas poinsettia. Yeah. And I've just mixed it with some autumn leaves, some swirly.
Of course you did.
Bits.
Of course you did.
And it's the overall feeling of the quilt. And I just, I think having the common blue squares in the corners just kind of
gives it some continuity. What are these? What are these little guys? Oh, I see. There's a seam right there. I was thinking,
Oh,
what on
yes.
earth is happening there? Oh my goodness.
Okay, now
Okay.
I called this rock solid because I feel like it's a really kind of solid kind of quilt. You've just got these big pieces of on this quilt dark
Yep.
fabrics, and then I had something light, so I just thought it felt really secure and kind of rocky. So I made another one with a favorite fabric that I had,
I
of
think she sews
course.
in her sleep, just saying.
I do sew as much as I can. I have to dig out a couple of pins here because I don't have them all. Okay, so this one I used, oh, so this one I used a more modern feature fabric because I do love the modern quilts.
So it's like a city map.
It is, it's kind of like a map.
Yeah.
So this one was a little bit more tricky because this color here is so medium. I would say it's so medium. So I used blue again in the corners, but then I had to be really careful about what I put
Oh,
inside
right.
because now I've got a medium sitting next to all of this, these dark corners, and what went inside should be a little bit more light. Like this is probably all these fabrics look fairly light when you look at it because you actually kind of see this plus sign as
Yeah.
opposed to some of the other blocks where you've got more mediums against mediums and then a light. So you have
So you're actually looking at the value of the fabric as opposed to the theme of the fabric.
absolutely. I'm just looking to see if it's lighter or darker. Sometimes I can cheat a little bit by using the same colors together, you know, because your eye will see those colors and you'll see whatever shape it's forming. But this one was a little bit more challenging, but I think it gives a little bit completely different mood from the first one. The first one is, you know, kind of very traditional. This one is just a little bit more,
There you guys can
um,
get a view of it, of the two.
yeah. And I think this quilt would be great for a guy,
Oh, and
even
I,
though it has pink, even though it has, you know, lots of flowers and different things like that. I think the big splotches of this
yeah,
color would kind of lend
yeah,
to that.
because it's almost a geometric print.
Yeah. So it was a little bit more challenging than I thought when I first started it, but I thought,
Yeah.
well, I've cut all these, so I got to keep going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I thought, well, what if we just make something smaller? Why don't we just do something with these units that we have and see if we can make something that's a little bit
No,
different?
she's just a never-ending source of surprises here.
No.
Oh, look at this.
So
I haven't
this,
seen half of this stuff. Okay, she very surreptitiously put this up on the wall without me knowing.
so this is just a little table runner. It's the same block. If you look here, it's the same block that we just made.
Oh, I see.
Exactly the same block. All I did was add one little 2.5 by 8.5 inch piece on one side. So
Yeah,
here it's on this side, here it's on this side, here it's on this side.
I see. Okay, so then you get the staggered.
Yeah, so you get, and then I would also suggest before you sew these on, take these little blocks and move them and see exactly, like, maybe I don't like that block there, you know, like, or this, you know, does that look okay? But it's okay. But maybe, you know, okay, suppose I had already sewed this on and I already sewed this on. Now when I go to lay them out, I've got this kind of little funky backward Z thing going. And I would say to myself, well, I wish I could put it somewhere else. Well, my options are not as much. If I already have this sewn on, I can only move it here, but then it would have to be upside down. So if you have these already made, 5 of these little blocks, just play with where they're going to be. And then wherever
I see.
those
Yeah,
empty
before you
space
sew the sides on. Yeah.
before, and then you know exactly which side to put it on. And take a picture with your camera where they were.
Yeah.
But the border here is cut 2 inches. It's the same for both of these quilts here. I only cut this 2 inches, although my pieces inside are cut 2.5. I cut this floating border here that kind of surrounds all the blocks. Cut it 2 inches, so it's 1.5 inches there. I think it just makes it a little bit more finished. Sometimes I find using this exactly the same thing is a little bit chunky. So for me, I like to cut this one a little bit smaller. I did add a border to this. It's an optional border, so you can add it. And in this quilt, I did not add a border, so I only have just that
That
2 inch cut.
looks like Jim Shore fabric. You know, he did all the ornaments and stuff
Yes,
with the angels.
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
And so we've got, so you only need 5 blocks to make the little table runner. And then besides, the other thing that you really see the plus signs in this, and that's because what I put on the side of the blocks and the border is the same as my colored blocks there.
Right.
So, you know, here, see, these two would not be a real good match in a quilt because they're too much the same. But, you know, that works better. Okay.
Okay, so we have a little bit of surprise for you guys and for Paulette. We decided we were going to just change things up a little bit. And for next month, every month, I'm going to give her a piece of fabric. She's not going to know until the video is shown. So hopefully she's not going to start to cry or something when she sees it. But she has to use it somewhere in the quilt. Okay, and it can't be just the binding. Like you have to actually use it. And this is going to be not easy to do. I've had it hidden here. I'm trying not to make you guys too dizzy.
Oh.
So I'm going to get Paulette to hold the fabric.
Okay.
Okay, so she's got to really think on this one because it's a large design and they're spaced out.
Yar.
I wasn't going to make it easy for you, Paulette. So there you go. So stay tuned, and she'll be doing a video at the end of the month of July, and we'll see what she comes up with then. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.